Hello Nerdgenic Nation and welcome to History of. I'm your host and resident superhero nerd Aaron Waller, and this is a series where we do a deep dive into various comic book characters, both heroes and villains, and give a little bit more insight as to who they are and why they do what they do. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about a character who, aside from having a massively successful comic book run, has also been appearing in live action, his own animated series, and movies, as well as video games, and that's Hellboy. Hellboy was created by writer and artist Mike Mignola and first appeared in Dime Piece number 4 in 1993, though he would look drastically different from the Hellboy we know today. After the concept of the character was initially pitched to DC Comics, who loved it but did not like the idea of it involving hell, he would move over to the independent comic book company Dark Horse, where he would make several more appearances before getting a much more familiar look in his own run the following year with Hellboy: Seed of Destruction. Onung Unrama, better known as Hellboy, was born October 5th, 1617 to a human woman, Sarah Hughes, who was dying. Sarah just so happened to be a witch who gained her powers from being a consort to the archdemon Azael, who's actually the Archduke of Hell and also Hellboy's father. Sarah's body would eventually be taken to Hell, where Azael would burn her body away so that their child could be born. Azael then chopped off the newborn's right hand and replaced it with the right hand of Doom. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. But once the other princes of Hell found out about this, Azael would send his half-demon child away and be stripped of his powers and imprisoned in ice. Hellboy, however, would be summoned to Earth in the final months of World War II by Grigory Rasputin, who was commissioned by the Nazis to change the tides of the war. And the child appears on Earth as a result of a ritual, but Rasputin wouldn't get his hands on Hellboy, but rather Professor Trevor Broom Brittenholm would. After determining that the devil-like child was not in fact the devil despite his appearance, he was taken in by Professor Broom and given the name Hellboy. He would be raised in a normal home by Professor Broom and even raised Catholic. And as a result, the US Army would create the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense, better known as the BPRD, which is a private organization dedicated to combating occult threats. After a successful mission in 1952, Hellboy would be granted the title of Honorary Human by the United Nations and become a member of the BPRD as the world's greatest paranormal investigator. He would go on to become the primary agent of the BPRD with the aid of Kate Carrington, a professor of folklore at NYU, Abe Sapien, an amphibian humanoid, and Liz Sherman, a pyrokinetic. During the Seed of Destruction storyline, things would change dramatically for Hellboy as he searches for Professor Broom after he goes missing. He would eventually find him, though to witness his death at the hands of a Lovecraftian frog monster. Hellboy and his friends would then be trapped by Rasputin in order to lure him to his true destiny to annihilate Earth. And it's during Hellboy: The Right Hand of Doom he learns the purpose of his Right Hand of Doom, being a reference to that exact destiny of bringing about the apocalypse. And it's also during this comic that we get to see Hellboy's invisible Crown of the Apocalypse, which is depicted as a crown of flames. Hellboy would go on to encounter the Baba Yaga, better known as the Boogeyman, and in an even wilder turn of events, learns that he's actually the descendant of Arthur Pendragon and is the rightful king of England who's destined to kill Satan with the use of Excalibur, which becomes a flaming sword in Hellboy's hands, who would eventually become the King of Hell. And as I mentioned earlier, he's appeared in video games and even had his own video games, Hellboy: Dogs of Night and Hellboy: The Science of Evil, and he even appeared as a playable DLC character in Injustice 2. Hellboy's also been depicted in animated films with Sword of Storms and Blood and Iron, but what he's probably best known for are his live-action appearances, with Ron Perlman playing Hellboy in Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy in 2004 and Hellboy 2: The Golden Army in 2008, which even eventually got a reboot in 2017 with David Harbour taking on the role. And you're probably asking yourself, what exactly is it that Hellboy can do? He does have that right hand of doom. What is exactly its purpose? What does he do other than just being a paranormal investigator? Hellboy's powers are actually quite unknown. All we really know is that he ages very differently than humans. He physically matures very quickly but mentally ages very slow, and has even been noted as having the mind of a teenager. But then again, he's a guy, so I mean, it kind of makes sense. And of course he does have that right hand of doom, which is supposed to bring about the apocalypse, but as Hellboy considers it more of a burden, he refuses to use it and its actual abilities are unknown. It is typically though appearing as a key to unlocking hell or various other purposes similar to that. Some abilities that we do know about though are that he possesses extreme strength, endurance, resistance to injury, accelerated healing, and is even immune to fire and burns. And by being a descendant and basically the royal bloodline of hell, he can even raise an entire army of the dead after embracing his true powers. And it's thanks to his ability to comprehend ancient magical languages, he also happens to be a great paranormal investigator too. So those are some of the major things you need to know about Hellboy. Was there anything in this video you may not have known otherwise? Let me know down in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, go ahead and drop me some suggestions as to some other characters you would like to see on this series. Your suggestions may become next week's video. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell notification so you miss on any future videos from me or the rest of the Nerdgenic team, like my awesome History Of playlist where you can see the entire list of every single character that I've done a History Of character for so far, or you can check out Ash's latest video right here, which is going to be giving you the breakdown of everything that's coming to the new Animal Crossing update starting in November. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, we really do appreciate it, and we hope to see you in the next video.